What's going on, guys? Welcome to Mile High Misfits. So in today's episode, I wanted to go over some of the red flags to look out for when buying a C5 Corvette. Obviously, some of these are going to be much worse than others, and these might not even be deal breakers for you depending on how much work you want to put into the car. But these are just some of the common ones that I've found just from owning this car over the past year. So let's get into the video. So I do want to mention that these are just going to be things to look out for on top of the things that you normally look out for when buying a used car. So things like fluids, tires, brake life, that kind of stuff. You're going to want to check those as well. But these are just other things to look out for the C5 specifically. So number one on this list is to make sure to check for lower radiator support damage. So to do that, you're going to want to check under the front of the car. And right here and on the other side, you're going to have your skids for your radiator support. And so you want to check these out. As you guys can see, there's some damage to this, some scraping and stuff. That's pretty normal just because it's such a low part of the car that when you go over bumps or onto driveways, that kind of stuff, this is going to get scraped up just that way it doesn't damage your bumper. This is actually going to protect your bumper from getting damaged, and that's what it's made for. However, you want to make sure to look out for your radiator support. So back here, you're going to see the support. So you just want to make sure that this has no cracks in it, no major dents or damage. These can be bent, and basically it'll make your radiator not sit in there the way it's supposed to. These are kind of a pain in the ass to replace, so you just want to check that over, make sure that it's stout, it's not loose, anything like that. Again, these scrapes and scratches here are normal, but just make sure that there's no cracks or major damage. This can be fixed though, so if you have this on your Corvette, you're not entirely out of luck. It is kind of a pain in the ass to do from what I've heard, but there are some videos out there to help if you have this. Now, adding on to this, obviously these are low cars, so you're going to want to check under the frame rails just to make sure you don't have any significant damage on there. This can be from scraping, or it can even be from jacking up on the jack points without using the proper pads. So just check those frame rails and make sure you don't have any major damage. Now here's the underside of my car. Obviously you can see there is a little bit of scraping, but nothing major that I'm super concerned about. So this is a good sign. Now the next thing you want to check out is under the hood. Next, you want to start up the car. And now you want to take a look at your harmonic balancer down there and make sure you don't see any wobbles. You want to check this because this is a common issue on the C5 Corvettes, and it can indicate that a catastrophic failure is coming soon. If your harmonic balancer fails, it can damage your power steering rack and your oil pan. So this is definitely not something you want to happen. And if you want to just go ahead and do it yourself, it's kind of a pain in the ass job, but it could take off a little bit of the sales price if you haggle with the guy. So the next thing you want to look out for is to see if your active handling and your ABS lights are on. These will usually come on together if the EBCM has failed. So the EBCM is basically just your ABS module, and for 2000 and older vehicles, so 97, 98, and 99, and 2000, the EBCM is not serviceable. And usually they just say that because most shops won't touch these. So there are a couple shops out there that claim that they can fix them. I haven't tried that myself yet, but they usually cost somewhere around $750 to repair those. But for 2001 and newer, these can actually be repaired. Basically, there's some videos online about how to resolder that unit. So if you have a 2001 and newer car, this isn't usually something that you really have to worry about. But for the 2000 and older, this is going to be a pretty big issue. And not to mention, if you just want to go ahead and replace the EBCM, it's going to run you about $1,000 on eBay, which obviously is going to be secondhand. And chances are you're going to have the exact same issue down the road anyways, just because all of these cars had that issue. So really, I don't think it's worth paying the $1,000 for a new module just because you're probably going to have the same issue down the road. For me, obviously mine happened about a year after I got the car. So, I'm just leaving it on there. It's really not affecting it too much besides the fact that it doesn't have ABS or active handling, which kind of makes me sad. I just really don't like the lights on the dash, but overall, it's really not a huge deal. It doesn't really affect drivability too much. So as far as I'm concerned, it's basically just burnout mode all the time, which I'm fine with. So the moral of the story on that one is look out for it, but if you're going to have a 2000 and older vehicle, at some point this is going to happen, and you're just going to have to live with it. Another issue that these cars are known for is for electrical issues, and usually that's caused by bad electrical grounds. So when you're in the car, make sure you're pressing all of your buttons, make sure you check the climate control and the radio and everything else just to make sure that you have all of your electrical working, because if not, this could indicate some bad grounds, and those are really a pain in the ass to track down. So, you know, just make sure you check all those out. Now the next one is going to be inside of the car, so make sure that your climate control is working exactly how it's supposed to. Press all the buttons, make sure you turn all the knobs, make sure that these work, and then also check to make sure that your air is coming out of both sides. So you want to make sure they're coming out of all of your vents, because one issue that is super common with these cars is that the blend door actuator will fail. And so basically what will happen is you'll get air coming out of one of your sides, but like over here, you won't be getting air. So make sure that you're getting air out of both sides, because this is, again, a really common issue. So the next one is on the rear of the car. So you're going to want to come down here and check underneath to see if you have the leaky diff. So now you just want to check out the differential to see if there's any fluid leaking out. Usually you're going to see kind of on the front case here or on the sides, you'll see those seals are starting to weep a little bit. You'll get some of that gummed up material on the sides. So just check that, because again, that's a super common issue with these cars, and it's kind of a time-consuming fix. So check that out. You might also see a little bit of fluid like down here on the subframe. You know, just make sure that it's all clean there, and you should be good to go. Now this next one is something that you need to look out for on any used car, but the 2001 C5 Corvette tends to have excessive oil consumption issues. So you might see a lot of oil smoke coming out from the tailpipe. And you also want to check the oil just to make sure that the dipstick is pretty much full where it's supposed to be. If it's like a quart low, then that might tell you that you have excessive oil consumption. So for the 2001 model year, you really want to look out for this. Before we get further into the video, I want to let you guys know that if you are not subscribed to Mile High Misfits already and you're finding this video helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button below, because it's going to help us to push out more content like this to you guys in the future. And subscribing to Mile High Misfits is the best way to support the channel. So if you're getting value from this video, just help us out. And if you want to take it a step further, you can also support us by buying some of our merch. We just got some new shirts. So we have the Millennial Paycheck Boomer Taste Corvette shirts. And we also have the Boosting My Ego 1 PSI at a Time Supercharged Mustang shirts. So if you guys want a shirt, hit us up on Instagram. They're going to be $25 a piece, so you can order from the Instagram page. But let's get back into the video. So now this next one I've mentioned in other videos, but you want to make sure to check under your battery if it is a lead acid battery. Just make sure that you're not leaking anything, because there is a wiring harness right under here. And if any of that acid gets onto the wiring harness, it will cause havoc for your PCM. So for the C5 Corvette, make sure that you check to see if there's any acid leaking out from the battery. So this next one is back in the interior. You want to check to make sure that you don't have any signs of water intrusion on your floors, and also check the roof just to see if there's any leaks, anything like that. But especially on the passenger side footwell, you want to make sure that you check in here for any signs of water intrusion, because if the rain udders were not cleaned out regularly, this can flood on this area here, and that'll cause a lot of electrical issues. Now this next one is going to hurt me a lot to do. If you have a manual transmission, you're going to want to check to make sure that all of your gears go in properly and don't pop out. So you want to like let out the clutch and just make sure that it engages properly. But you're really going to want to check reverse. This is the one that has the most issues, and I'm going to show you guys exactly why. So I'm going to let out my clutch now. Yeah. So as you guys can see, mine pops out. So the only way that I can get mine to work is to basically hold it into gear and slowly let out of the clutch, and you'll see it clicks in like that, and now I have reverse. So this is a super common issue with the T56. This is something that I'm not super positive on why this happens, but I am going to be replacing the clutch fork and pads and all that stuff on my transmission probably this winter. So stay posted on the channel for that, because I'm going to show you guys exactly how to fix this, and hopefully I'll be able to figure out why exactly it happens. But this is a huge issue. I've seen it on multiple other C5s since I've owned mine. I actually bought mine like this because it really wasn't a huge deal to me, and I'm not really super worried about it because I know that I can fix it. But yeah, this is something that if you're not super mechanically inclined and you don't really know how to work on cars, this can be a huge issue, so make sure to look out for that. Now, adding on to the topic of the transmission, if you have an automatic transmission that you're looking at, just make sure that it doesn't slip or have any like really rough shifting, because that can indicate that there's a major problem with the transmission. The next thing I want to bring up is to check all of your fiberglass panels for any cracking or major damage. So you're going to want to pay special attention to like your fenders and your quarter panels. You might see some cracking and that kind of stuff where the tire could have contacted up here in the wheel well. So you want to check out for that. You also want to see on the rear and front bumpers, make sure you don't see any kind of like spider web cracking in the paint, because this can indicate that there was an impact. Also check all of your panel gaps, so like where the doors meet, where the fenders meet, all that stuff. If there's any like weird panel gaps, that could indicate a collision. And then also on the doors, another common one is that where the hinge meets the door, you can maybe start to see some cracking in these areas. Usually this happens with Corvettes that maybe weren't as well maintained. Mine doesn't have it, but that you will start to see some cracking on the fiberglass if the door's been like leaned on in a weird way, or if there's any pressure like put downwards, like maybe somebody was leaning on it, stuff like that. So make sure to check for that, because that can be another big issue. You're obviously going to have some like rock chips and that kind of stuff, but overall, you just want to make sure you don't have any cracks in the fiberglass itself. So the next one is a helpful feature that Chevy added to this. So basically on the side here, you want to flip on the key, and then you want to scroll through your buttons. So you're going to basically hold options and then press fuel 4 times. And basically that's going to bring you into diagnostics mode. So it's going to start cycling through all of your codes and that kind of stuff. So you want to check these out and make sure that there's nothing on there that you really are freaked out about. And then if you press options again, it's going to bring you into manual diagnostics, and that'll allow you to scroll through each of your menus. So now I can just use the trip and options button to scroll through all of these. So let me go into this one here, and I'll show you guys that, so this one has H and C next to it. So the H means history and the C means current. So that is one of the current codes on my car right now. So this one is history. So that one's one that isn't currently on the car. So you just want to make sure that you check through all of those, see if you have any current codes, and then if you do have current codes, make sure to Google those, see what they are, so that way if there's something that you really need to be concerned about, you'll know about it. So this is just one of those helpful things that GM added to these cars to make it a little bit easier, so that way you don't need a code reader. You obviously can still use a code reader, but if you don't have one handy on you, you can still scroll through those menus just to see what codes are on the car, and so that way you don't have any surprises down the road. Now, the last one is not C5 specific, but I know a lot of people skip this, and that's to run the VIN on the car. Running the VIN is super important to see if it's been stolen, been in any accidents, and just to make sure that all the service has been up to date. You just want to make sure that you know what you're getting, guys. It's really not hard to run a VIN. You can do this online for super cheap. It's just cheap insurance, guys. And again, it's not C5 specific, but this is something that you should be doing on any used car that you're going to buy. Now, before I close out the video, I wanted to go over just a couple of facts with you guys about some of the different C5 years. So the 1997 model had the most recalls. Obviously, that's the first year of production of the C5. The 1998 model year had the most complaints, including tie rod assemblies and fuel leakage. The 2001 model year had a new coil-on-plug ignition system that had more issues with misfiring and also had oil consumption issues. And then overall, most people say that the 2003 model year of the C5 is the best model year to get. Year over year, for the most part, the C5 Corvette got better and better each year. So obviously, if you can get a newer one, that's usually going to be the best bet. But I have a 1999 and I absolutely love mine, guys. These cars are just amazing, and even though there are some red flags and some issues here and there, honestly, if you buy one of these cars, you're probably not going to regret it. But there you have it, guys. Those are my top red flags to look out for when buying a C5 Corvette. If I missed any, let me know in the comments below. I'm sure I missed a couple out there. There's plenty of things to look out for with these cars, but overall, I've got to say, this has been one of my best purchases when it comes to used cars. So if you're thinking about buying a C5 Corvette, I say do it if it looks good. But that's all for this week, guys. If you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for future content. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.